Viewers are invited to post their location and local time, and as the comments roll in, the story slides into motion with the morning sun shimmering across Pine Lake where one man just wants to fish in peace. He's sitting in a dented aluminum boat sipping a beer line dropped in the water when suddenly 12 bass boats churn up around him like some low-budget pirate fleet. Engines growl, wakes crash, and in the middle of it all, the HOA president. Yes, the president of a homeowners association screams into a pink Hello Kitty megaphone, "Get your trash boat off our lake right now." The sound is so shrill it could double as a tornado siren. He doesn't move, just raises an eyebrow like a comedian waiting for the punchline, wondering how a Saturday morning fishing trip turned into naval theater. Walter, self-appointed admiral of this armada, stands on the bow of his glittering bass boat, barking orders through a bullhorn, his chest puffed out like he's about to be carved into Mount Rushmore. This is Pine Lake Fishing Club exclusive leased water under legal contract, he declares, waving laminated papers like they're holy relics. When asked who granted the lease, Walter drops the name Henry Champion, supposedly his late uncle, who owned the lake and transferred all rights. Historians still argue whether fishing clubs make better cults or comedy troupes, but this one is clearly leaning into parody. The man in the aluminum boat, calm as ever, asks to see paperwork. Walter sputters about private trusts. Becky, the HOA president, shrieks about community property value protection, and the whole flotilla looks like it rehearsed for Broadway's worst maritime musical. The absurdity only grows. 12 shiny boats circling one tiny vessel like shark fins around a rubber duck. Becky nearly falls overboard trying to hand him an HOA violation slip. Walter's bullhorn screeches feedback so loud it scares the fish away, and kids on shore gawk like they're watching a monster truck rally. Neighbors gather filming on their phones while Frank, the old-timer down the dock, just shakes his head like he's seen too many fools in his lifetime. Ultimatums fly 24 hours to remove the vessel or face legal action. Vessel like his aluminum boat is the Titanic. He plays along, sipping his beer, joking to himself that if this is piracy, at least nobody made him walk the plank. But Frank's quiet warning is the real curveball. Asked about Henry Champion, his face drains of color, voice drops to a whisper. "Son, I've lived here since 1983. Never heard that name spoken once. That land's heavier than any megaphone rant. Something doesn't add up either." Walter is a master liar, or he's been lied to himself. And in that moment, our fisherman realizes he's stumbled into something far larger than just neighborhood drama. Like a cryptic footnote in a dusty history book, it hints that the lake hides secrets that no HOA sign can control. The next morning, he drives down to the county courthouse, coffee in hand, more curious than angry. The clerk, Janet, welcomes him with a tired smile. And when he mentions Pine Lake, she pulls out files so thick they look like props from a history museum. Page after page of records stretch back to 1898, and not a single one mentions a Henry Champion. No leases, no fishing club rights, nothing but a pristine record of ownership. Then Janet drops the bomb. Your grandfather, Robert Waters, purchased Pine Lake property in 1962. Entire lake, all water rights, mineral rights, everything. He stares at the survey map lines stretching wide, covering not just the shoreline, but the full body of water. It's like finding out your backyard is actually a national park. He has to sit down the weight of it almost too much. For decades, his family has quietly owned the whole lake, while Walter and Becky were busy writing fan fiction legal codes. Meanwhile, back at Pine Lake, Walter is rehearsing his grand confrontation like a general on the eve of D-Day. 40 base boats are lined up, polished to a shine, their owners convinced they're part of some noble crusade. Becky is setting up live streaming rigs like she's covering the moon landing, even drafting faux legislation titled things like maritime recreational vehicle aesthetic standards that somehow target one man's aluminum boat. It's almost performance art, except nobody's laughing except the fisherman who knows what's coming. Historians still argue whether overconfidence or ignorance sinks more ships. But Walter is proving it doesn't matter because he's steering straight into both. He organizes military-style formations, boats, stalling and tangling lines, neighbors taking sides, kids banned from their favorite fishing spots. The whole community splits and the lake turns from sanctuary to stage. By dawn, the invasion begins. 25 bass boats storm forward in perfect triangle formation, bullhorns, ready HOA notices flapping like battle flags. But instead of panicking, he sits calmly, with a waterproof folder, the original deed gleaming like Excalibur inside. When Walter shouts about his uncle's 2018 lease, the fisherman politely sets the trap. Would you like to state that, for the record, Walter puffs up, broadcasting his lie loud enough for Channel 7 News to record every syllable. And then comes the moment, a call to Janet's speaker on her voice, crisp across the water. Official county records confirm Thomas Waters inherited Pine Lake in 2023. No Henry Champion ever owned it. The silence is delicious. Engines idle, heads swivel, faces crumble. Walter looks like a balloon with the air punched out. Becky fumbles on her live stream as comments flood in. Scam, fraud, refund now. One by one, club members realize they've been duped, demanding their $50,000 annual fees back. Walter shouts, conspiracy. Becky shrieks, fake records, but the dam is burst. 18 boats peel off in retreat. The rest sit stunned as the fisherman raises the deed like a referee ending the match. He doesn't gloat yet, just calmly adds, "And by the way, your clubhouse sits entirely on my property." Frank claps slowly from the dock. Neighbors cheer. And for the first time, Walter's booming voice cracks. The self-proclaimed admiral has no fleet left to command. The fallout comes fast and loud. Becky refuses to accept reality, chaining herself to the fishing clubhouse with a bike lock and screaming about government conspiracies while live streaming to a dozen viewers. She's carried off by deputies like a protester at a fruit festival, ranting about constitutional rights as the crowd laughs. Walter faces an even harsher reckoning. Angry members swarm him for refunds. His prize bass boat gets repossessed on live TV, and his wife Martha packs her bags, muttering that she's done funding his fake admiral fantasy. One by one, the props of his imagined empire vanish, until he's left with nothing but a Walmart rod and a muddy shoreline. Historians still argue whether schadenfreude counts as justice, but watching Walter's downfall feels pretty close. The community, meanwhile, revives like a spring-fed creek. Kids return with tackle boxes, families gather for impromptu barbecues by the shore. The bait shop owner smiles at booming sales. He announces to the neighbors, "The lake is free fish, anytime, no fees, no memberships," and the cheer rolls across the water like a tide. Frank organizes a celebration, and for the first time in weeks, Pine Lake feels alive again. But the ripples spread further than anyone expects. The FBI calls revealing Walter's scam as part of a nationwide network of fake fishing clubs. Suddenly, the quiet man in an aluminum boat is thrust into federal investigations, his expertise in spotting phony authority turning him into an accidental anti-fraud crusader. It's surreal. CNN calls him the Lake Liberator. Neighbors talk about bronze statues, and agents brief him on scams from Texas to Florida. Even Walter finds a strange redemption. Sentenced to community service, he learns to fish simply without clubs or contracts, teaching kids with donated gear. His public apology is shaky but real, and in time he becomes a humbled mentor rather than a schemer. Becky, less fortunate, drifts into obscurity, her social media rants ignored until even her ceramic cats can't bear to listen. Through it all, the fisherman stays modest, fishing in his flip-flops, just happy to breathe by the water. He marries Susan, a researcher who helps unravel the fraud network their wedding held lakeside with hundreds of grateful families cheering. Yet the deeper he digs, the clearer it becomes. His grandfather had been documenting scams for decades, leaving a trail of evidence pointing to a vast conspiracy stretching across states, maybe even borders. A mysterious text at a White House ceremony hints it isn't over, that Henry Champion was just one mask in a larger operation. The fight against fraud isn't finished, but he's no longer alone. Standing at the shore with Susan, hearing kids laugh as they reel in fish, where once bullhorns roared, he knows the real victory isn't in deeds or court records, it's in giving the lake back to the people. The wind down slows like ripples settling after a cast. The scene softens, sun dipping low over the water, voices blending into quiet hums of conversation. The sharp edges of conflict dull into memory, and the lake takes on that timeless calm it always promised. Families linger on the dock, children dangle their feet, the smell of barbecue drifts across the breeze. He leans back in his chair, rod resting, eyes half closed, listening to the gentle lap of water against the hull. What began as chaos has become peace again, and though the world beyond Pine Lake may call with new battles, this moment belongs to stillness. He exhales slow, like letting go of weight he carried too long, and smiles faintly. The lake reflects the sky in soft colors, pinks fading to blue stars preparing their entrance. It feels safe, unhurried, eternal. A whisper of thought drifts through him, steady as the tide. Sometimes the fight leads not to glory, but to quiet evenings where the water carries every burden away. The story rests there, calm as the night, until dreams take hold.